ओ मेरे भाई।
Apple cider vinegar. To make apple cider vinegar, you need apples. But if you look on my right hand side, I'm not standing with apples. I'm standing with a grapevine. Question will be asked why. Will be understood in a little bit. Pick some of the leaves, and I'll show you why it's needed. So I'll start picking these. Doesn't make a difference. Just try to pick something which looks fresh, green, and things of that nature. If you don't have the grape leaves, you can still do things. You can use cabbage, but try to use cabbage which again either you have grown or you buy from a farmer's market, and don't wash too much. Don't chemically wash it. And when I use the word chemically, really what it means is water which we get in our faucets typically has chlorine in it. So what I'll do with these also, I'll wash this with clean water. And when I say clean, really no chlorine in it. Okay, so I don't know if you remember or not, a few weeks ago we picked these apples. Yeah, they sat longer than what should have happened, but it is what it is. We did wash them very well, so it doesn't have the beneficial bacteria on it as much. This is why I picked up those grape leaves. I'm about to cheat, and the cheating is not happening for my apple cider vinegar. It's happening because whatever the fruit of apple will be, the flesh, that'll be transformed into two other things. Thinking of right now doing an applesauce and drying or dehydrating some of them. So I have this wonderful gadget that I bought a few years ago and never used it. I'm using it for the first time this year. That I do have one which is manual that you have to move it, but once I figured it out, okay, I can do this. That's the magic. If my camera comes closer to me. So what am I trying to do? It's very simple. With apple cider vinegar, you can use the apple itself, but I'll give you another way. Whatever you typically don't eat and you compost or throw in the garbage, we'll make apple cider vinegar out of that. What I've done is, I've got water going over here, because one of the things with apples is, as soon, and you'll see that it's already happening, that it starts turning brown as soon as you start peeling them. So what I'm about to do is, I'm leaving, oh, here we go. Didn't think of it, or didn't see it. I'm leaving it in water so the color does not change. Over here are my two containers where I'll start my apple cider vinegar. So whatever about to cook or dehydrate will go in this water. Whatever about to make the apple cider out of will go in these containers. Now I have a little bit of water over here also in both of them. And again, this is distilled water. From here, let me finish all the apples. And once I'm done, I'll show you the next step, and it's extremely simple. So simple vinegar. It's converting into three different foods now, as I mentioned again. So over here, the apple sauce has already started. Got 3 trays that I'll dehydrate for snacking. And if my camera comes closer to me, all the peels and core, they're sitting in here. What I've done is I've just just left water in it. My tree actually is a Granny Smith. Many people, what they do is, they don't put anything when it comes to apple cider vinegar. I tend to always add sugar. It's always a good starter for me. But if you're doing sour apples, you do need sugar. Else the flavor of apple cider would not be right. Yes, I told you earlier that because for my applesauce, there were some apples sitting store-bought at home, I use those for the sweetness in the sauce. Apples have gone in it, a little bit of water, cup or two. Um, it depends on you, what you want. I have ground ginger that I might use. I have pie spice that just makes you feel like you're eating not applesauce, but almost like apple pie. And some cinnamon. I'll use some brown sugar, and it's just cooking it down, nothing more. Eventually, might blend it down, depending on if it's needed or not. It just depends how your apples are. So we'll see. Now, when I come over here, there's nothing. These apples were sitting in water. They are actually already turning, so I have to put them very soon in my dehydrator. But let's finish this now. Again, water, core, and peels. What I'll do now, as I said, I do like to have a bit of sugar. So I have water sitting over here. Really, what you're trying to do is fill everything up and make some sugary water. How much sugar? Depends. I like to do a bit more than what you will normally eat. So, like this much. If then it makes sense to anybody, fine. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Mix this together. Try to mix it as much as possible. Again, this whatever these peels and water and the sugary water would be has to sit for like 3 to 4 weeks. After that, what I'll do is I'll take the solids out and then let the liquid sit for another 2 or 3 months. And eventually it will make a wonderful apple cider vinegar. Now let's do a taste test. Oh, it's extra sugary, but don't worry because I already have water in it, right? So now let's pour this in. I'll do half and half because I know it would not, yeah, still need more water. And keep in mind, I'm using distilled water. You do not want chlorinated water. And every time you'll see me fermenting from here, you'll keep on hearing that over and over again. It's pretty good over here. Generally speaking, I'm fine. Now, these two vessels are different from each other. They're made differently. This is made for pickling. And what you'll see is, let me lower my applesauce. There we go. It has weights. The idea is you're trying to keep the solids below the liquid surface. Now remember these. Why did I pick these? This, again, if my camera comes closer, this will become something which will take care that no solids come over the water. Let me do this much. So generally speaking, it's all covered. I have to do the same on this one. And then the bacteria from the grape leaves will help with the fermentation process. Oh, before I finish this, I forgot. So I've got an old vinegar. If you don't, that's fine. If you do, that's good. You can always buy store-bought. If you look at my vinegars, I do not. What I try to do, I try to keep the mother in there. It's important for me. Many people will try to get it to a point that you can get to a point that there's no mother. I prefer it. So I'll just use this as a starter, a little bit. This step is not required, but just if you have it, it helps. It will sit at room temperature. And again, I always discuss this. What's room temperature? I live, lucky for me, in a household where I can control my room temperature. But if you do live where you don't have heating or cooling, it's between 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You have to do the math when it comes to centigrade. So again, covering. So what I'm trying to do is the solids should not be able to come over higher than the water. This has a weight. Here we go. Let me do it together, else the other side will Okay, couple of these came. I'll take that away. So now this will sit for 2 to 3 weeks. Now this container is a bit different. It does not have those weights. So what I've jigged, what I've figured out, I have this pasta plate. It's not the cleanest right now. Let me give it a quick rinse. What I figured out was, again, if my camera comes closer, if I put it like this, by the time it gets there, it will stop, and the shape of the container itself, it will stop the solids to come up. Now this is done. Again, this was floater, take it away. The last thing I'll do, I use these. And the reason to use these is when sugary water is sitting around, you start getting fruit flies. Even with the lids, it doesn't work properly. So I've learned it over the years. So already made the tags. Home apples from 2023, the start date. Again, as I said, 3 to 4 weeks with the solids in, and then 3 to 4 months, the vinegar will be ready. I already closed that one. So tying this one again, so flies cannot get in, even though, and I'll show you, the lids are pretty tight on it, but with experience I've learned that it does not work properly. This is how you start an apple cider vinegar. So we finished starting the apple cider vinegar. But the good thing is that I started something last year. And what I want to show you right now is, because I will need these containers to start my new ones. And I'll discuss a couple of little things over here. There are 2 different kind of containers. I started this one from Apples from Home, which were from 2021 fall. I started it on September 23rd, 2022. It has sat here for far too long. It doesn't need to be. As I've already mentioned, the process is 3 to 4 months. You don't need to. Why the kept on sitting over there? The reason is I didn't need it. I had enough, and then I was lazy, which I'm usually. So I just did not take them out. And these are 2 different kind of containers, and I want to discuss both of them. And I have a third kind also, but the logic will remain the same as to what it is for something which is closer to me. The one which is closer to me, if you are making these, let's say in a half a gallon mason jar, you'll use this logic. You cannot really use this logic, and you'll see why. So when I did this a year ago, and I said a second time because I made vinegar, I had actually too many apples, and then I froze the apples, which I pulled out. Then a few months later, I started a new batch. So this is second time around. So we'll do a taste test, and from there we'll realize that doing that works or not. Whatever you saw earlier, we are just doing from core and the other part of the apple. It could be done both ways. The best thing is to do with the core and the outer part. The reason, as we have already mentioned, you can always make sauces like apple sauce, something for making apple pie. Many things could be done. So why waste? And since those parts which you are about to throw or compost, you can make apple cider, why not? Let's open them, and I'll show you some differences, as I said. So this is a pickling vessel made of ceramic, and there is some logic to it, and you'll see it. Okay, so whatever I'm seeing right now, I put my hand in. I have already washed my hands. And this is what's called the mother. I'm very happy just to see the thickness of the mother. I'm already happy about the quality of my vinegar. The other thing I'll tell you, that while opening, since I did not see any bugs or anything, that's another positive. Now, why is this one different? So let's take the weights out. stoneware. It's from Ohio, USA 2. I don't know what that means, but it looks like old-fashioned handwriting the way it used to be back in the day. Now, remember when I was showing you that I put grape leaves as a starter because most of the bacteria sits on it? So take this out. I'm not about to throw this away. So you're sitting around. First thing is to test it. The smell smells like vinegar. I don't have any foul smell to it. The way the leaves came out, it looks good. Oh, it is vinegary. It's a bit sweet also, but I like the overall taste because keep in mind, once I even bottle them, these bottles will sit around. I still have some sitting from last year. I'm not about to use all of them right away. And what happens is there is still a bit of what the word uses. Some people use fungus, some call it mushroom, some call it mother. There's still some in it. So this vinegar is growing. We have to fill it, but before we fill, let's open this one. And you have to figure out if you're using mason jar or whatever, what fits there. But as I mentioned earlier, the whole thing. Now, let's see over here. I do see mother again. The health is fine, but I do think the amount of liquid is a bit different. I might be wrong. It might be the same. So let me pull everything out, then I'll bottle it. So what did we get? Anybody else would complain, oh, it took you like 2 years to make this apple cider vinegar. As I said it earlier, it takes 3 or 4 months. I didn't need it, so I didn't finish it. So roughly 2 gallons of apple cider vinegar. If I don't give to other people, which I will, this will be good for some time. The other thing is the 2 mothers that I took, I put them in this jar. And what I'm about to do is, I've added some of the apple cider vinegar, added more sugar. I'll put the lid on it, I'll let it sit. I make kombuchas. And this will become the mother for my kombuchas. And right now I do have another mother which I'm using right now, so I don't need it. So that's why I won't use the word resting, because really adding sugar is making it active. So I'm making it active to grow the mother as much as possible. This is how you make apple cider vinegar. So residue of apple, which were the peels and the core, we made this. Just we used some sugar. From there we got the mother, which will be used to make kombucha. So one after the other, and whatever the apples were, you would have used it to make sauces or whatever you needed to. That's it. I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe and keep on following us. Thank you so much.